Yo, here we are. Geek Variants. Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Does this movie live up to the hype? Let's talk about it. Yo, Geek Variants, we back. So we're here to talk about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Again, this is a spoiler review, so there are heavy spoilers involved. If not, go back, watch the movie, and come back and talk to us.
Yeah, because
So
we just left the movies.
we fresh out the movie, and yeah, we definitely got some things to say about it. So since I've seen it a couple times already, Tony,
Mm.
I want you to start me off. What are your thoughts?
Well, as we had discussed in a previous episode, we was trying to figure out when this actually took place. We was like, it would make sense for it to happen during the snap, and then that's the easiest way to explain Chadwick not being there. But that's not the way they went. This happened, what we believe, after the initial snap, and then they came back. So Black Panther was back. T'Challa was back, and he was running the kingdom for a while. I I I got too far because this movie was great in my opinion. It's great. I loved the opening sequence honoring Chadwick. I loved how that it went to the Marvel credits in the opening scene, and it was complete silence, and it was nothing but images of Chadwick as T'Challa. No music, nothing. And the entire theater for those first 10 minutes of the movie was quiet, except for the 5-year old that was asking to play hide and seek. That was it. But for that opening scene, until they got past the opening credits, nobody said anything. And it was great. It was great. That was just wonderful. And then you get into the part where they talk about he got sick and you popping into the lab. Shuri's all fevers trying to figure out how to save a brother. And I made the comment to Will, damn, that sounds like an episode of Dragon Ball with Goku when he got sick. It's the exact same, it's the same thing that happened. And you can't tell me that wasn't I'm not wrong.
No. They did really well for
They
setting up the
did.
honoring. So honoring Chadwick in the way that they did with again the Shuri's trying to save her brother, the franticness, the losing him. Again, he was lost off screen. He wasn't on screen stuff at all as far as and because he has passed away. And then again, she's you can see her. She's so involved in her tech, trying to save her brother, and that's one of the most important things because Shuri is all about tech, and she's not really one for tradition. She's all about what can she do to help, what can she do to save, what can she do to move things forward. So, and that's the ongoing theme of the movie as far as Shuri is concerned. Now, after they go through the entire opening sequence and stuff, we have the moment of silence. Freaking all the Marvel Studios logo comes in the purple and silver, freaking fantastic. We get to 1 year later. This is 1 year after the death of T'Challa, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. Now, Romonda, Queen, has been ruling the nation of Wakanda. She's been handling business, doing everything she needs to do, and trying to figure out. They have since still continued their outreach program, but
Mhm.
again, they're being questioned about not sharing their resources. And
Which
because
is
of certain
greedy,
things,
but we know that's what happens.
yeah, but we know that this is also, they're doing it for a reason. And the reason they're doing it is because they had an attack on their facility by France, it looked like. She looked very guilty. And so at
It
that,
was France. She looked right
you
at her
know,
when she said it. These
you
yo
know,
people.
about about getting into stuff, whatever, and they had to defend themselves. So it's about what y'all are gonna do once y'all get a hold of this stuff. Y'all are gonna start doing all the stuff that y'all are talking about. What vibranium is, and it's not about the vibranium. It's about y'all, and whatever y'all are gonna do with it. So as we
Wait,
go throughout the movie,
let's get back to the outreach center where the special forces from France, France special
they
forces. That's not saying much. They
Uh,
come in and they think they just messing with scientists and like who got this, who got that, and they point and that door open up and who steps out but the Dora Milaje in all grandness. And you even had I think two were playing to be scientists. They were acting like they were scientists. They came up and they just started whooping everybody's ass. It wasn't even funny. Like great. And all this was going on while the queen was at the UN making her speech. And
now all this happened
no, I'm
before.
saying the scenes
Yeah,
were going on. They
the
were
scenes were going
fighting, and
on.
she was making her speech, and then she brought him in and made him kneel down in front of her, in front of the entire UN. I mean, that epic, epic. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. It was great for the setup. So when you look at everything for how Wakandan is back to a nation within itself and so like that, like they're still doing stuff for the outreach of that, but they're more focused on protecting their resources and not leaving themselves vulnerable
Which they
because
should.
they don't have the Black Panther, they don't have their protector, but the country itself is not going to roll over. It's still going to protect itself to the best of ability. And the Dora Milaje ain't no freaking joke. Like they're going to do what they need to do to make sure that Wakanda is still protected. Now, throughout the course of this, with you see Ramonda just really, she is. By the way, Angela Bassett is, she's already. She always
She
puts
need
on a performance.
she need an Oscar for this one. She needs some nominate an Oscar nomination or something because she
She
acted
was
her ass off in this one.
fantastic, powerful, freaking just getting everything out there, the emotion going through her face, freaking with, the loss of her son, so that freaking remembering the loss of her husband. Like she was on point the entire movie, and her freaking outfits, costume design, wardrobe, freaking soundtrack. Yo, I want to subscribe to them and what they got going on because they need a fashion catalog. That stuff looked really
It
freaking
was
good.
the authenticity of it was outstanding. You
Yeah.
can tell they put a lot of research, just like they did in the first one. They put a lot of research behind these outfits.
So so as we're going through the movie, we get to the point where we're talking about Talokan is freaking the nation of where Namor is from. So
Atlantis,
Namor makes his appearance again. This is the MCU, so they're gonna change up some things, but
which
Namor has
this
been.
is a good change. We talked
It's a
about
good
good and bad
change.
trade. This is a good change.
So Namor makes his appearance, and again, we know that these nations have been hunting for vibranium, and this is actually a joint mission between the SEALs and
Everybody.
the CIA that have been hunting for this, and they found some vibranium outside of Wakanda. So now it's a problem, and of course, Namor and them, they're protecting the waters, so they dispatch everybody that's involved. For now, everybody's trying to figure out what's going on. Namor decides, like, hey, I'm going to make a visit to Wakanda. He sneaks in, lets them know, hey,
Was it really him sneaking in, or he just showed up like, "Hey, I'm here"? Because it's
I
like
mean,
he just came in like, "Yo, y'all had defense, really?" And started
I
laughing
mean,
at him.
their defense only went so far, and that was a problem. So that because again, they're still when they're at home, they think that they're protected, and they're still off their guard. That was the problem. Once they were within their walls, everything is safe, so to speak. I'm like, I don't know if they learned something from when Thanos attacked and stuff. Like y'all got to step up your security. So it seems like they changed up a couple of things as far as their security and stuff goes. But the fact that Namor
They
was
didn't
still able to
protect the
come in,
water.
Namor was still able to come in. They didn't have no Kamoya beads because again, Shuri is still trying to process the loss because it's a 1 year anniversary of her brother's death. She's still trying to process the loss and can't. She's swallowed in tech no matter what it is. And Ramonda is trying to keep her family together, and she's having a hard time doing that because Shuri is still so distant. So because of all this distress, this is causing problems throughout all of Wakanda. So again, Ramonda, she's having moments where she's really trying to be a queen and a mother, and of course, the two are conflicting
Yep.
because she's trying to, put one over the other based on situation or put them together, and it causes issues. We'll get to that later. Um, but Namor makes his point known. I'm going to attack the surface world. I need to know if you're with me or against me.
And he said, "That's the only two. That's the only two choices you have. You're either
That's
an
it.
ally or an enemy. There is no in between." And he was
And
dead ass serious.
he's like, I will come for you. He's like, you cannot beat my army. You cannot beat it. And then he went on
I
about his
think it. Wait,
business.
wait. I think his words were, "I have one. person in my army for every blade of grass in your nation. I
Yeah,
mean,
I think yeah, he's got a lot. He's ready to
and he
go.
wasn't lying about that. It was a lot of them.
So as the movie goes on and stuff, you see more and more of the back and forth between the nations about what's going on. So they got to go get Riri. Riri is the genius that came up with the vibranium detector.
And let's
All right,
just say they did her right.
they
Her
did her right.
intellect in this movie was exactly what it needed to be. 19 years old, creating these kind of equipment. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Shuri
Smarter than
was impressed. Yes, sir.
very.
She already had her Iron Man. Oh, crap! She's got an Iron Man suit. That was hilarious. I was dying there in that part. That was a great scene where she broke out the Iron Man suit and took off like ready to go. So of course, throughout that, whole thing goes down, and Shuri decides to voluntarily go because Okoye, who's doing her thing, she ends up taking out some of the soldiers, but they end up getting right back up, and she can't finish the job, and Shuri ends up voluntarily going with them to Atlantis, Talokan.
Look, but don't skip over the bridge fight because Okoye, it was still 5-on-1.
It was 3-on-1
It
initially.
it
Well,
was
initially,
five. It was
it
five
was
at
five
first.
there.
Namora went to
Namora
go
took
jump
off.
on the cops. Atuma stayed up
Tuma
and
stood
looked
by,
like, I'm gonna see what you can
and
do.
she fought the three. She did killing blows on each of the three. They
And they
went
got up.
down, and they got back up and went back to Namora. Atuma ends up fighting. This is where we see the showcase of Atuma's strength. And he's smacking her around, dislocating shoulders and elbows, or
But
whatever the
she did
case may
pop
be,
that back in though, because she
and
tough.
got back to work. And so Okoye is still no slouch. And Okoye, the only reason Okoye got beat is because it was a bomb that she didn't know was a bomb, and it
Yeah,
wasn't like
she's
a bomb; it was a water bomb. So it was like compressed water or something like that. But it was enough to do the
it was
damage she
like a
needed to
it's
do.
like a tidal wave hitting you. That's what it
Yeah,
was. So when they threw it at her, she was like, okay, I'm gonna just break this in half. She swung her spear at it and it knocked her off the bridge. Now
yeah.
Riri and Shuria, they still unconscious. They over there laying on the ground from the little car wreck they had. And I hated to see that car get destroyed, but I'm glad they brought
That
it
was a
back.
beautiful. That was a beautiful
That was
car.
a beautiful car.
So, throughout this and stuff, again, we start to get more of the history of Namor and the changes that they made. They cop to the fact that he's a mutant. First and
He
foremost,
did say that.
he says that I'm a mutant, and he came in around 1571, 1572, and so that was when he was born, and we get the history of his mother and his people and how they came to the water. And actually, had somebody question me, is like, well, why are they changing colors like that? It's like, again, how they breathe, how they get their oxygen and stuff like that. Namor does it differently. He does it through diffusion and stuff, whereas everybody else, they use their gills. So when they're out of the water, their bodies get, cyanotic. They start turning blue. So when they're
That's
in
why
the
they gotta
water,
have the breathers
they
on.
got to have the breathers on. So when they're in the water, they're going to look like Namor and everybody else and stuff in the water. So shout out to, who's asking that question. So in the process of this, it was fantastic to see how they built the city, how they put everything together as far as the city is concerned. Like, it looked gorgeous.
And
Using the
it just
vibranium for the
and it
sun.
was more Aztec influence than Atlantean influence. Don't think of when you think of Namor City, don't think of Aquaman. It is nothing like that.
Yeah,
It is
you got to
nothing
think
like
for
it.
the I said the Mayans. Like, this is heavily influenced because they took a lot of stuff from the Yucatan region, and they utilized a lot of the history and stuff there. I was
Yep.
just at Chichen Itza back in August, so that and you saw them playing the game with the ball in a hoop. I can't remember what the name was called of the game, but you saw them playing and understanding that, okay, yeah, this is where all the history and stuff comes from. So he did very well, and Namor stayed true to Namor. Again, he is a villain, freaking in his own right, and he's made his threats, and he's very clear about what he wanted.
Yep.
And because of how distraught Romonda is, she's going to go through any means necessary to get her baby back. And in the process of that, she dethrones Okoye as general,
She demotes.
demotes. She takes her down. She kicks her out. She
Hey,
gets
that
rid of her.
scene right there, that acting in that scene by everybody was
Yeah.
was great. I'm telling you, she need an Oscar nomination or something.
Yo, she took her out freaking. So Okoye is no longer general, and it looked, and then her second in command stepped up. Um, and throughout this process, again, you see how conflicted. I won't say conflicted that the queen is. Like she's very focused on what she wants, but again, she's not thinking in front. Like she did everything she could to protect. She was outnumbered. She explained why she was outnumbered. Superhuman strength. They came in on whales, all the power and the different things they had, stuff that they weren't ready for.
And she didn't want to hear none of that.
And
All it was just
and
an
she didn't
excuse.
care. You lost my baby. You lost my baby. Get out. Like you're done. Even when one of the guys tried to defend her, she raised a spear to her husband. Oh, and she still gets to look at her husband. Where's my husband? Dead. Where's my daughter? My family is gone. She lost her mind. Like she was like, I am sick of this. I am done. And that was it for Okoye. She is out. So because of that, she ends up going to Nakia, the spy, the war dog, to find a way to get her back. And honestly, with this scene, I was a little off because if she was able to do that and get in stealthily, honestly, Okoye could have did the same thing. Let's be honest. It's like
Well,
that.
I mean, she could have done the same thing, but Nakia is like
Nakia is good
she's
at
the
it.
best. She's the
She
best at it.
she is the best. You could have literally said, "Freaking you and Nakia, go get my baby
Like
back."
if Nakia would have went to go get Shuri, the cops would have never found her. They found
Yeah,
Okoye, but if Nakia would have went, it'd have been in and out. Nobody would know what was going on.
yeah. So I mean, it's simple. Like use your resources wisely. And again, she's all about protecting her resources, but Okoye is one of her greatest resources. Like Okoye is a fantastic general for getting the job done, and this seems to be, from what I've seen, so that her first real failure and stuff to protect. But again, they brought up all the stuff with Killmonger. I'm like, you trained Okoye to be loyal to the throne, not just a person, loyal to the throne. As a Dora Milaje, that's what she's loyal to.
Yep.
So when Killmonger became king, she was loyal to the throne. She did everything she could to help them, freaking within reason, but outside of being treasonous. And still, that wasn't enough for Romonda. That it wasn't enough. It didn't matter. But even when she recognized that T'Challa was still alive, and she said, "No, we're not going to follow you anymore because the true king is still alive, and y'all didn't finish y'all battle." Again, that wasn't enough, and I think that her loyalty shouldn't have came in question. And that was a problem that I had with the movie. Her loyalty shouldn't have came in. Her loyalty to the throne has always been there, and she's willing to do anything to get Shuri back. And so she was unceremoniously removed. Like,
Yeah.
go, I'm done. Um,
Hmm.
but even with all that stuff, again, Nakia sent in to go get Shuri back, go get Riri back, and in the process of that, again, Nakia was no nonsense business. Ramonda was used as a distraction, and
And y'all need to understand, they did not know where Shuri and Riri was at all. They was like 60 miles under the ocean, like at the bottom of the bottom, down by the Mariana Trench. That's how deep they were. And Nakia found them and rescued them by herself.
I don't think they were that far down. Like when
Dude,
the city is down there.
they said what, 160 kilometers?
I don't even think it
Isn't
was
that what he
kilometers.
said?
I think it was meters. But again, they couldn't go down there without. They couldn't go down that far because of the pressure. So
But
they
Nakia
didn't
had
go
her
down in those
little,
suits.
she had a little
Nakia had
Wakandan
her,
sub thing.
yeah, her little sub thing that wasn't. It was like a strap thing, but it was like still like see through. Like it wasn't. It wasn't all
No, because remember
encased.
her suit, the suit she was wearing got
Her
encased.
suit was enough, but they weren't
So
as far down as the city was. They were still closer up to the surface. Either way, Nakia still found them and brought them back, which was freaking good. But the thing is, she used Griot to help find them and track. And again, the resources that she used was still all the resources that Wakanda had access to. So the only thing freaking that Nakia was her particular, she's stealthy. I like that. She is particularly stealthy to get stuff done. And I was like, all right, we like that. She goes down there to get him. But again, she wasn't stealthy. She came down there with a gun and blasted two people and left.
left one alive. Like if you wouldn't have left that one alive, it might have turned out different.
I mean, But no, it's different. They would have known it was Wakandan.
They would have thought it was Wakanda. They wouldn't be for sure. Because remember the last one that was dying told them it was the Wakandans.
Yeah, I mean they said it, but I mean there's really no like they came to get the princess. No one else knew the princess was taken except them. So just tomato tomato at this point. But again, if she would have came, I figured she was gonna come in stealthily and slice up a couple people and be out. Nah, she came in blasting and dipped out. So Nakia was more or less freaking a throwaway character to me in an aspect of that scene that
And
could have been.
and well, she had a couple scenes that could have been shortened, like when she was talking to the lady
Mm-hmm.
about Namor, that could have been shortened down because there was a lot of information in there you did not need.
You
You
good,
could have
need
just
no.
came in and you could have had them sit down and you could have had talking in the background while she's off doing something else. We didn't need
Yeah,
an entire scene of them having a conversation over a meal. It
nah.
was
She literally came in looking like Maribel from Encanto or something. Like I don't know, freaking. But either way, I said we get down to where this basically one of the people, one of the Talokan people gets killed, and this starts the war, so to speak.
that Wakanda was not ready for.
No, Namor came for them just like he said he would, and he came in force. And it wasn't even like his army was doing a bunch of things. Namor came in personally and did
Wrecking
work.
shop.
He took out a lot of people, so that he took out several ships. He took
He
out
punched
Shuri's ship. He took out the general
Mbaku.
ships
He punched Mbaku across the city.
and put a hole in his
One punch.
armor.
And Mbaku just started laughing, but he didn't get back up. He was
Yeah,
like, "Nah,
he,
I'm good. I'm good."
he was done.
Uh-uh.
Um, he came straight up and he was like, "Yo, I'm finna take out." He looked Ramon dead in the face. He went to go stab her. She didn't flinch. She was like, "Hey, I know whatever." But when he came back with those bombs, he
That
took
was
her
it.
out, and then that's what we see. Ramonda gets killed in the process, trying to save Riri. She drowns in the process of saving Riri because Riri didn't run when she told her to run. Um,
Still can't believe they
and
killed Angela though.
I mean, it's sad. It's sad to see her go, but it was necessary. Shuri was already fractured from her
Yep.
brother's death, and she didn't heal. She didn't do anything about it. So when we get to this point, she is now completely broken at this point because she has lost all her family. Her father is gone. Her brother is gone. Her mother is gone. And now she's all that's left, and she has to figure out. And she's told it she's queen now. Mourn your dead, mourn your losses. I'll be back with my army to finish the job.
Yep.
And he's all about like I'm gonna give you a fair fight. Like we're gonna win, but get ready. We're coming for you. So in the process of that, we get Shuri going through her transformation process. She's trying to figure out what to do. She's thinking. She got some of the history of how Namor came to be and stuff like that, and she uses that to her advantage to help recreate the heart shaped herb,
That's what she. That's because Namor gave her her
the
mom
bracelet.
his mom's bracelet. Who it had the strands of the herb in it, so
Yep.
she could take that DNA from there, and that was the missing ingredient she needed to make the new heart shaped herbs.
Yeah. So using that with T'Challa's DNA and what information she already had, she put all three together, created the new herb, and it worked. So it's like, all right, well, let's see if this works. And this is where the big part, where of course, because everybody was speculating about
It
who's
was,
coming back, freaking who's going to be cast back in there. So
I've heard
Killmonger's coming back. He's going to be the
T'Challa
new
was
Black
gonna be
Panther.
in there. I
Yeah,
heard that T'Chaka was gonna be in there. I was like, it's going to be Killmonger.
yeah, I knew for a fact it was Killmonger. The way they did it was pretty freaking sweet because again, when she goes into the ancestral plane, because she's not a true believer of
Correct.
everything, and because of that, her ancestral plane was similar to Killmonger's ancestral plane. He didn't grow up with all of that, so he only knew bits and pieces. So when he went to the ancestral plane, he was in an apartment type deal and trying to figure stuff out. Shuri did something similar. She's back in the hall where her mother died because as she went through the process and she started talking to Killmonger, and why are you here? Because her rage, her frustration, everything's built up. And you see, as she started talking, the room started to, light ablaze. Like she was angry and she wanted retribution. And that lit her fire. That's what got her going. So that's why when she came out, she was hot, 38 hot, ready. And said that, and she realized she has powers now.
Man, because she lied. Remember, she lied to Nakia about it, and then
About
she punched one of the Dora Milaje's bodysuits,
armor.
and it went
Mm,
flying across the room. And she was like, "Oh, it did work. Well, what you know?
yeah.
Let's get it going. Now let's get
So
me a suit." And this is we both agreed on this. When it was revealed that Shuri was going to be that was she was actually the Black Panther, when she jumped, because M'Baku had taken everybody into his area, since it's no water there, so Namor would have a harder time getting there. And then here she comes, flashback to when Chadwick dropped out of his airplane and into the
hmm
fight, and then here
that's
she
called
comes
back.
dropping down, and everybody was like, "Who is this?" And I'm like, "Seriously? You don't know who this is?" She literally just took the heart-shaped herb, and then it revealed to be Shuri. Everybody started clapping. I'm like, you really couldn't go by. It's a golden Black Panther. Killmonger was the Jaguar who wore gold and black. Shuri just got done talking to Killmonger. She
Mm-hmm.
literally walked past T'Chaka and T'Challa's headpieces and when it got the gold Killmonger one. And y'all couldn't figure that out? I was
She got her
amazed
one of
by
the
that.
right. So
I,
yeah, I mean, her new helmet looked like it was an infusion of you know classic from what T'Challa had and
yep.
from what Killmonger had. So it's a fusion of the two, and it's got the dots and stuff on it, which also symbolize. You see the dots and stuff came in from when they did the burial sequences and
Yep.
stuff. So all of that, like she's still in mourning because she's still trying to process everything, and her suit is a reflection of that. She's still trying to figure out this new thing that's going on with her, and how what her place is in the world now. So we get her back, and she's very forceful about what she wants, and she's like, "We're gonna take the fight." So in the process of this, we're gonna take the fight to Namor. They get everything together. You see Riri going in doing work with her stuff, and we know that she has a freaking vibranium suit. Like it's a vibranium iron heart suit that is created, which is fantastic. And I'm like, there is no way in hell this is gonna stay around very long. Like there ain't no way because his entire suit made of vibranium is gonna be freaking nasty. We
And it,
also
and it
get
was.
we also get and this is something we get the Midnight Angels, which I wasn't I knew it was coming and to a degree. I saw the signs kind of setting up for Midnight Angels with the when they talk about the Dora Milaje spinoff and a few other things. So I wouldn't be surprised. I didn't think it was going to be Okoye because I don't think Okoye was ever one of the Midnight Angels, if I remember correctly. It was a few others, but
I mean, it
the
makes
fact that
sense for the
it
movie.
makes sense, it makes sense for the movie and stuff. But again, it's one of the things I'm looking at. I'm like, now freaking, we got more in my head. It's kind of like we got more Iron Man suits, like more suits to give super strength and flight and stuff like that. I'm like, I
Did
like the Dora Milaje for what they were and stuff like that. So if you would have enhanced the Dora Milaje for what the Dora
like
Milaje do,
enhance their
cool.
uniforms?
Yeah,
That would
enhance
have been better.
them instead of making it, some. I like the look of the suits. Don't get me
I
wrong.
didn't.
Like
They look like praying mantises. I didn't like them.
it reminded me of what I can't remember. Kind of like a weird predator freaking what
Don't mention
I
that
kind
movie. Don't mention that movie. No, no.
but the suits again. I don't like the way the suits were transformed so that. But I like the look. I don't like the color scheme. The color scheme was, and I think especially you call them Midnight Angels and stuff like you know, do the royal colors or do something with
You
them. Like
could
I
have
don't know.
literally did black and purple and been
Yeah,
done with it.
been done
They
with it.
were
But
like royal blue and gold, or
yeah, it
yeah.
wasn't. And you're fighting blue people. It's like, okay, whatever. So we got the Midnight Angels and stuff in there. We'll see how long that particularly lasts. We got Ironheart doing her thing. You see the similarities throughout the whole thing of Ironheart, alluding to Tony Stark. You got the beating with the hammer and stuff like that to carve out the stuff. You got freaking the flight up high where you uh,
Where
lose
Tony,
power, so like that freaking and
yeah.
drop. Uh, you got the unibeam freaking scene of that.
Which I
So
was not expecting. That was surprising to me. I was like, I didn't know how she was going to get out of that bear hug by Namora, but that was a pleasant surprise with the Unibeam.
yeah. So again, Riri was done fantastically. I loved her suit. I loved her and how she really set the stage. And again, she was like, she had that, like, I'm new to this, like, yo, what's going, like, I love her natural charisma for it.
Can
Um,
can I just interject and say we harped on Marvel a lot about making things too comical. Thor, She-Hulk. This movie right here was almost a perfect blend of action, drama, and comedy. It was. It wasn't too serious when it needed to be funny, and it wasn't too comical when you needed some seriousness in it. You had funny moments. Let's get it right. Like Riri, overall, she was hilarious. The thing she said, the crowd was cracking up when she was talking because she was hilarious. But she's a 19-year-old kid, and that's how 19-year-old kids are.
mm-hmm.
So this movie has shown that you can do this. You don't need to rely on comedy for the entire movie. Okay, go ahead.
You know, so it was fantastic, the way they set everything up and how everything went through. I want to definitely make sure that it's showcased throughout the entire thing that as they did all this fighting, we finally got down to brass tacks between Black Panther and Namor. And again, with Riri helping come up with what needed to be done to help weaken Namor, to dry him out, so to speak, and really get in the fight. Again, showcasing her mind and freaking what she has a knack for problem solving.
Yep.
We get into that fight, and now the Shuri I know in the comics, she has combat experience and she knows how to scrap. So
This
that
one
she
can't
is
fight.
trained. This one cannot fight. And
Not
again,
well. She can. She's decent,
she's
but
decent enough,
she's
but
not hand to hand experienced
no,
at
Namor
all.
was bodying her, and of course, if Namor wasn't weakened with that, he'd
It
have
wouldn't have
killed
been
her.
a fight. It wouldn't
It
have been a
wouldn't
fight.
fight. He'd have killed her. So at that. So I definitely think that more needs to be done with that because like
She need to
I
train with the Dora Milaje.
Dora Milaje, like
She do.
I have no fear of of this Black Panther. You know, like I want her to be better. I want her to be stronger in terms of her ferocity and so that freaking like. And she's, with her having the Killmonger attitude, she's kind of get there, but she's also got to learn that balance. And again, that's something that she's got to discover as she
Well,
goes
she
through.
she kind of learned that in the final fight
Yeah,
when
in the final fight, she started
she
to.
did she did eventually get the upper hand on Namor, but like we said, he was weakened, and it was shocking that when she got stabbed through the stomach, that one addressed after she broke it off to get off the being impaled to a rock to go and fight
Mhm.
Namor some more. I need to know how that healed up underneath the suit because, as we know, the Black Panther suits, like Killmonger's, when it's penetrated by vibranium, it opens up. But once you take that away, it closes back up.
Yeah.
The wound is
So
still there.
the wound is
She
still
still
there.
should be bleeding
So
out.
they made it clear that the wound was there when it closed up. Like you didn't see the wound go away, like it closed up over the wound. But I would have liked to see, of course, her slide a Kamoyo bead in her wound or something
Which
like
she
that.
did
To
not, which I was sitting there like, okay, that is still a hole about that big in
yeah,
her,
that's a
front
freaking
and
spear
back, front and back.
and back.
So it should be blood pooling somewhere inside that suit. So I need a
Yeah,
foot to spread out or something. It's not just gonna heal on its own.
yeah. Um, so of course that we see Namor gets his injury with a wing cut off. Um,
Which
which
I didn't think that could happen, but I'm not well versed in Namor like that.
Namor freaking so if I remember correctly, so at that his wings have been ripped off before, but they grow back.
Okay.
So again, we'll have to see how like he's got to for him to still be effective with how he was because he was like
He still
I
was
ain't never
flying
seen.
around. It was just him. He
Yeah,
couldn't get up high. It was like he
yeah,
was,
freaking like when he was attacking Wakanda, like this man was drifting like freaking in the air. Freaking the turns he was hitting was ridiculous. But overall, it ended up being tech that saved her to get the job done. Again, utilizing the tech that was around her to finish the job and stuff like that. And then again, Namor still in the end got what he was after. He
he
got the
got an ally.
loyalty
He
of
got an ally.
Wakanda and stuff like that. And now that when all the heat drops on Wakanda and they have to defend themselves and they get called for help, he now gets his war with the surface world. So don't get it twisted any type of way. Namor is still out for Namor and his people. He's gonna figure out the best way to get the job done. and that's why he was explaining at the end to Namora
Yep.
why he did what he did
And I
to
will
set the
say that I
stage.
like that they did not kill off Atuma, Nomura, or Namor. I like that.
Yes,
I now
just
when during the final fight when she blew up the ship to to burn his ass to get all the water out of his body, I thought he was dead. Then I was like, oh, here we go. They're killing off another great character. We can't have this. And then for her to turn around, have him yield the fight, so she would technically be the winner. And then she took him to the water, which of course was off screen, but healed him. And then when they flew back, because I couldn't understand why the Wakandas decided to get on the ship. That made no sense. Why are
you
you
put
in?
yourself in the enemy territory.
It's like King Kong Godzilla. Kong was on the freaking boat, the big ass fleet carrier, and Godzilla is a fucking amphibian. Come on now. Why would you do that? So
Doesn't
and
make
then
any sense.
you got what? Maybe a battalion of Wakanda fighters against the Namor's
You
army. I was gonna
you
say
could
it.
you could have came out with a fleet of ships, at least a
Right.
fleet, and you could
You
jump
got
from ship to ship and get stuff done. But you came out with one big boat, and by the time that fight was over,
that boat was
there was like what 15 to 20
40.
people left.
No, it was about 40. No, it wasn't even that
So
many because they was
I
throwing
don't
out.
even
They
that
was
many. They was getting thrown off the side of the boats like that. When they were back down to the corner, and everybody was
yeah.
clearing the ships like that, it was like 20. I say 25 people
At
still left
most.
alive.
Yeah, because then you still had Namor's army crawling up the sides. You had the
Yeah,
whole
like
top. There
they
was
were.
like a little they was like on the bow, just like
It,
we gonna go down fighting, dude. Y'all about to get dead. Y'all was all dead.
so and then so we get that's the end of the movie. Say we see the reconciliation of things happening within Wakanda, things getting back to normal, and we get a couple surprises at the end. So
Which took
we know that
all of my effort not to scream out in the movies. I knew it.
yeah. So Riri gets her car back, and she doesn't get to keep her suit because again, it's made of vibranium and that cannot leave.
Cannot.
Everett Ross, and this is something we've been talking about before because it was minor going through so that, but it's still important for me to mention. Everett Ross was the helpful person throughout the series with that, but again, he just had a couple scenes where he was trading information. The biggest part about that was one that he was branded a traitor by Fontaine, by director LaFontaine. Look, that's Madam fucking Hydra. All
It
right,
is.
that's what that is. She was married to him at one point. That was a little bombshell. Didn't expect that, but she ended up arresting him for treason because they bugged all the conversations and stuff he had. So he was locked up and later saved by Okoye. So now he's a refugee, or a fugitive on the run. He's a fugitive on the
Hey,
run from
can
CIA.
we just give a shout out when she said, a colonizer in chains? Oh, I laughed at
That
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 one. That was
that
pretty
was
funny.
fun.
That was pretty
Yeah.
funny.
So, but she's he was oh okay whatever like whatever. So she saved him, and so he's good to go. So we're definitely gonna see more of Ross. But again, we're getting more set up for the Thunderbolts and whatever she's got in mind as Madam Hydra. Like, what is she pulling together? What is she trying? Because she said she dreams of having the vibranium. She's got some ideas in mind. She wants to get something done. So, what is her agenda? And we're going to get more on that later. So, that was a very big piece that was put together there. The fact that M'Baku came off to challenge for the throne, and that actually made a lot of sense because Shuri is not fit to rule yet. She is still trying to work things out with herself. She's still got things that she needs to figure out, stuff she's got to contend with. So, and let's be honest, her in her normal state without the heart shaped herb, because it would have to be stripped, she would not win in a fight against M'Baku.
I mean, not too many people in Wakanda would.
So, M'Baku becoming king of Wakanda makes a lot of sense for the story. That allows the story to continue for Wakanda and for Wakanda to rule effectively, while it allows the Black Panther to still continue to be the protector, but also allows her to go off and do things independently without worrying too much about, you know, kingly duties and stuff like that. So that's good for her. Um, and one of the biggest bombshells dropped, of course, is the fact that Nakia has a son who's about 6 years old,
Yep.
whose name is Prince T'Challa.
And there
So
you have your replacement, Black Panther.
so that's it. So overall, so that the movie was fantastic for what it was. Again, people are going to compare it to the original Black Panther, which I don't think
Don't
you
do
can
that.
do.
You can't do
You
that.
you can't, like, this movie is a standalone as far as what it does. It has some effect on the MCU, but again, we'll see how much further it's going to go based off of what Madam Hydra has in store for it and what Wakanda is going to do. Again, that's it.
So
Like, this was a really good
can
movie.
we say that this is a step in the right direction on saving the MCU? Because we had discussed this earlier.
Yes, we had this conversation about where the MCU stands, and we did this with DC, and I said we're going to do this with Marvel, and here we are doing it with Marvel because of how things happened with the TV shows and where they were going. This movie was definitely a step in the right direction towards getting MCU on track for what it needs to do, and we're going into Quantum Mania next, and we will definitely see more of
I'm not.
Kang the
I'm not
Conqueror.
hype. I'm not hyped for that movie yet.
I don't expect to be hyped for it, but I expect it to be a jumping off point for the things to come.
I can see
That's what I'm
that,
waiting on.
but not. Like I was hyped for this movie. I was like, I gotta see this one. This Ant-Man. I'm like, okay, I see it when I
Yeah.
see it.
So that's all I got for this one. You got anything else to add?
Uh, one of my favorite scenes was, let's go back to when Shuri was revealed as the new Black Panther, and M'Baku stood up, and we was like, oh, are they about to throw down? And they went into the little Indian arm wrestle,
Mm-hmm.
and they started wrestling, and because it was him testing her to see if she had what it took to wear that outfit. And when
Mm-hmm.
she got him, he was like, got you. We good now. Let's go.
I think I enjoyed it for as far as M'Baku. I enjoyed the fact that he had a strong presence throughout the movie, and he
He was
was there
very
to
level headed.
counsel. I think T'Challa has rubbed off on, like, I think with his stuff, his fights with T'Challa and stuff like that, and his understanding throughout the first movie really helped even him out and stuff like that, and made him a better leader for his people, as well as a better counsel
Yeah.
towards T'Challa and everything else going forward. So now he can do that with Shuri, and you see he does it with the Queen as well. So, and that's why he has a seat at the table, freaking out there, because they were outcast for a while, and the fact that they're back, so that's great. Um, I think my favorite scene right now literally has to be Riri's entrance into the suit. Oh, she's got an Iron Man suit. That was just
That was
that was
epic. That
that
was
was
epic.
one of my favorites of that, because it set up like she's really about her business and just everything with Riri. So that's who I was most hyped to see. Of course, because I'm all about the Iron Man. So I got for that. But
Man.
I do want to say this movie did exactly what it needed to do going forward.
So
So
what's your rating on this?
this one and stuff, I have to give it. I give it a little room. I'm have to look at it a couple more times, but right now I'm going to give
What
it
do you mean a
like,
couple more times? You've seen it 5 times.
it's not enough for me. I nitpick every single thing. Right now, it's I say about 8.59. It's in that range.
I'm at 8. I'm right around 8. I'm you know what? I'm 8.7 ish.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
because
I can agree with
again, for
that.
me, it was a little too long. You could have made it a little bit shorter and still had the same impact. It was a little. It did drag in some areas, but the action overall made up for it. And I don't think it was one weak character in there per se. It could have
No,
been some that could have been better, but their roles in this movie were fine.
yeah, I think everybody got some time to shine and kind of do their thing. So it's really good. So
Even the cops that was on the bridge, they got time.
yeah,
It's like, I think
they got
blue.
something. Yeah. So, other than that, I don't think we got nothing else. I definitely want to give a shout out to all the fans and stuff that go to watch these movies and stuff like that. You
Don't
know,
bring your children. Don't bring
don't,
5-year-olds.
yeah, don't like come enjoy the movie, enjoy it for what it is, stuff like that. But if they're not going to pay attention and watch the movie, don't bring them kids, stuff like that. Shout outs to the Deltas and stuff that came. We saw some Deltas out there in force. Give a shout out to them
It
for
was a lot
definitely
of
out
them
there,
out there.
and they were out there. They was looking good and they was doing their thing. I took a picture for a couple of them, stuff like that. But they were out
Yeah,
there
he let me walk
fantastic.
outside
So,
the movie theater thinking he was outside. He over in the corner somewhere. I'm like,
hey
this
man, I was
really?
helping them out, take a picture. So shout out to them, so at that, and then shout out to all fans, because yeah, I love Marvel, so at that. If I'm gonna give my respect where it's
Y'all
due,
all
we
right.
lost a good one. We lost a good one. We lost Kevin Conroy, so definitely give a shout out to Kevin Conroy and the Bat family and stuff. Like, he is the definitive Batman for me in my childhood, growing
Yep.
up. Freaking, I loved him, and it sucks that he passed away on November 10th. There's that. So definitely give a shout out to him, and everything going forward. DC, they lost a good one. So that's that. But other than that, I got nothing else, Tony.
That's pretty much it. So just look out for our other videos. I'm sure they'll be here, and we will see y'all in the future. Hello.
I am Batman.